Hello YouTube, I'm Toby and today we are looking at a computer I bought from a guy on the internet. Now this is a Lenovo ThinkCentre PC. I haven't had it open yet, even though I did buy it last week, but I've been gone most of this week out of town, so I haven't had a chance to look at it yet. So I'm hoping you will join me in my little quest to figure out what's inside this thing. Well, if we start by looking at the outside of the case and start from the top, we have the Lenovo DVD drive, something I'm not sure what is, and the on-off button, on light and hard disk light. Also here in the front we have two USB inputs and an audio and mic jack. Now it does say Windows Vista, but the guy I bought it from told me that the hard drive was wiped. And for processing we have an Intel Pentium CPU. I'm not sure what kind of Pentium this is, but I guess we're going to find out. Now the sides of the computer aren't that exciting, so we'll just skip straight to the back. It looks like we have a new power supply in here. I'm not sure how powerful this is, but definitely don't look stock. And we have our exhaust fan, some IOs, and down here it appears we have a graphics card. I'm excited to see what kind of graphics card this is. Okay, so this is the inside of the computer now. The first thing I noticed was that the cable management wasn't really a big priority from whoever put this thing back together. Okay, so our power supply is a Raptoxx XX 550 watt power supply. Let's take a look at that CPU down there. Alright, so our processor is very dirty. There is dust and old thermal grease, well, dried off thermal grease on there. So I'm gonna have to clean that off in a little bit. And our heatsink looks to be just a standard stock one. Also got a lot of dry thermal paste on it. And as you can see, there's a lot of dust buildup in the fan itself and the heatsink. So we're gonna have to blow that out a little bit later. Now here's something I found a little bit interesting. We have two of these Hyperx DDR2 sticks. I'm not quite sure how big they are, but I think they're 2 gigabytes a piece. Okay, now let's try and take our mystery graphics card out. The graphics card appears to be an ASUS EAH5570. I believe this is one of the older AMD cards. I don't know if you can see this, but there's a lot of dust buildup in the fan as well. So, together with the CPU, the heatsink, and well, generally the case itself, I'm gonna have to clean it off a little bit. In case any of you were wondering, we have a VGA output, an HDMI, and a DVI output. The processor is now clean. It appears to be a E5200 Pentium dual core clocked at 2.5 gigahertz with 2 megabytes of cache. So I'm excited to see how well this CPU performs. I've also cleaned out the graphics card and the CPU heatsink, so I'm gonna put this thing back together and we're gonna see if it boots up. Okay, so I did not even have to push the power button for this thing to turn on, which is kind of interesting. So far we know that the computer and the graphics card works. As I said before, there should not be a operating system installed on this computer, so let's see what happens if we press enter. Well, nothing. Alright, so it turns out that the graphics card was causing issues during boot up. I think this may have something to do with the missing driver or something, but I did manage to finally boot into my USB device, which is running Linux Mint. The hard disk drive in this system has a total capacity of 251 gigabytes. So, and as it turns out, only 125 megabytes are used. So, I think the previous owner was right when he said he wiped the drive. There's absolutely nothing on here, which might also explain our missing drivers for the graphics card. Well, perfect. So the computer works, we know that much. And I did manage to boot into the Linux USB drive, so far so good. For right now, I think it's time to do something about this cable mess right here. A little cable management, what might be a wise thing to do. Later I'm gonna try and see if I can reinstall Vista. I do have the the little product code that came with the operating system. I know what you're thinking. Vista isn't my favorite either, but it's been a while since I've had a Vista machine, so it might be fun to re-experience that. So far so good. I did manage to stow away the cables a little bit, tie them down with some zip ties. It's still not the best looking cable management job ever, but yeah, in these older cases it's a little bit more difficult to do this, since you can't route them around the back. For now I'm keeping the graphics card out until I find the appropriate driver and download it to the PC. Alright, change of plans. It's been about 24 hours since I started working on this thing, and I've done some thinking. I decided to install Linux Mint instead of Windows Vista. I don't know what I was thinking, wanting to install Vista on this thing. Right after I installed the Mint on this, the Linux Mint on this system, I somehow managed to get the graphics card to work, and I also installed a Wi-Fi card. So in not too long I may be able to install Steam and a few games, and we can start benchmarking this computer. I decided to go with Ubuntu instead, since it seemed like I really couldn't get Mint to work properly. I'm not sure what the problem was. Well, it's probably me, but anyway, I've got Ubuntu set up, I've got Steam installed, and I'm ready to do some benchmarking. The first test we're going to run is the Counter-Strike Source dedicated graphics test. So the Counter-Strike Source graphics test is done, and we got 59 frames per second, which means that this is the worst gaming system I have so far. Alright, so now we're game testing Counter-Strike Source on the computer. So far it's very playable. The mouse is a little full of life, but nonetheless the game seems playable, so let's try another game. Now we're running the Half-Life 2 Lost Coast graphics test. The Lost Coast test revealed 56 frames per second, which is also pretty low, but not as low as I expected for this test. Alright, so right now we're trying Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and it's not running real well. It's stuttering a little bit. Okay, so I don't have any dedicated benchmarking tools at my hand right now. So I had to do with my Steam games in the Counter-Strike series. But up until Counter-Strike Global Offensive, it did really well. However, Counter-Strike Global Offensive was just barely playable. So I don't think this machine is powerful enough to run the newer games. Definitely not AAA titles, but it could definitely play some of the older games. Alright, so conclusion time. This system is definitely not a gaming system, but my plans for this system are to learn a little bit about Linux. I am obviously new to the Linux operating system, so I think this might be a good opportunity to learn it. Now the computer itself is quite loud, and the fans are very audible. I don't know if you could hear it from the footage I shot, but I could definitely hear it. Also, every time I connect it to power, it starts to power up, then it shuts down, and then I have to press the power button for it to start up again. I kind of find this a little bit weird, but it's not a major issue. Also, the hard drive is very loud. It sounds like a roaring tiger every time I try to do anything on this system. I'm not sure how to fix this other than get a new hard drive, but the hard drive still works, so I'm not going to invest in a new one just yet. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.